Hi, today I want to talk about Goon, Last of the Enforcers. This is the sequel to Goon. The first movie came out in 2011-2012. This movie was made in released in 2017. And basically it's a continuation of the Highlanders team and Doug Glatt. When the movie picks up, there's going to be some spoilers here because the movie's been out for a few years. We find out that him and Ava have gotten married. Allison Pill's back as Ava. And that she's pregnant with a baby on the way. The Highlanders are about to start a new season. For the most part, the team's pretty much the same, but they go into detail in the beginning how NHL's on a lockout and some of the professional ball players are coming down to the minor leagues to play hockey for the season. I think I said ball players, but hockey players. So the season starts. Doug is still a major part of the Highlanders, and everybody's accepted him at this point, and everybody loves him. And the first game of the season, Doug gets in a fight with Anders Kane, played by Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, and he gets the shit kicked out of him, and he hurts his shoulder, and soon after, Doug is told he has to retire, which kind of makes Ava happy. She doesn't want him to be getting beat up or hurt anymore, and they're about to have a kid, so she wants him to get it. Even though she loves hockey and loves watching him play, he ends up taking a job as an insurance salesman, and he retires from hockey. And the team doesn't do well after that for the season. They have their ups and downs, and actually, Anders Kane ended up getting traded to the Highlanders. His dad actually owns the Highlanders and is a GM, and he brings him in. And Anders has a problem with his temper and his attitude in general, and you could tell he has some psychological problems. He's kind of a psychopath. They even go into, he has a very awkward meeting with his dad about he wants him to behave and be a team player and lead the team. And he's going to be made a captain on the team, and he wants to win. He wants him to have the team win. And the team just doesn't jive with him. Everybody's kind of on eggshells around him, and they don't know how to talk to him, and he yells and berates his teammates, and you can tell they miss Doug. And as the movie goes on, Doug is struggling as an insurance salesman, and one night Doug decides to go and see Ross the Boss Ray is retired since the last time we've seen him, when Doug beat him up at the end of the first movie. And he goes to this arena, and there's this thing called the Bruised and Battered, where old retired hockey players come to fight for money on the ice, in their skates, in their pads, and they fight like they would in a hockey game, only this time it's just, there's no game, they're just fighting to see who can win, and if they win, they get some money. And Doug watches Ross win a fight, and at the end, eventually he approaches him, and asks him, just to have a conversation. He wants to get back into fighting shape, because he just can't get past that he got beat up by Anders Kane, and he wants to get back into hockey. He misses it a lot. He misses his team. And Ross Ray takes him under his belt. It's kind of like the Rocky 3 thing, where Apollo Creed takes, Rocky Balboa and trains him for a fight against Mr. T at the end. It's a lot like that. Ross trains Doug to fight with his other arm, because his right arm has shoulder problems, and it's not as strong as it used to be. So he teaches him how to fight with his left hand, with his left arm, and basically they show him training Doug along the way. And finally, when he thinks Doug's ready, he has him fight at the next Bruised and Battered, which is going to take place at the Highlanders Arena. And Doug kicks the shit out of a bunch of guys, and the owner of the team watches it and realizes Doug can still bang and go at it. So they decide to bring him back for a tryout to the Highlanders, which everybody in the team is excited to see Doug back, because they've missed him. And Doug, in the first practice, proves himself, so they sign him on. And Anders Kane is not happy with his dad for bringing Doug back, and he causes a lot of problems, and him and Doug are kind of not jiving. And then Anders' dad gets rid of him and trades him back to Reading, where he came from, which, as you could tell, really pisses Anders off. And eventually, to go into the playoffs, the Highlanders play Reading, and we get our matchup between Doug and Anders Kane in that movie, in that game. And I'm not going to give away what happens yet to see the movie. I've given away enough, but that's pretty much what happens throughout the movie. We follow the Highlanders with Doug getting back into the fold, and their march towards trying to get into the playoffs. And this movie, compared to the first one, there's still a lot of heart there. Doug is a character you can really get behind in this movie. There's not as much hockey in this movie. It focuses a lot on Doug and his relationship with his wife. And Doug missing his team. And him and Ross bonding. And Ross really taking pride in training Doug to get back into fighting shape. Almost like a fatherly figure to Doug. And even later on in the movie, Ross gets signed by the Highlanders. So it's him and Doug on the ice together at some points. And so Ross kind of gets his second shot at a career. Some things happen there. I won't give it away. But Liev Schreiber's great. Alison Pill's good as Doug's wife. She hates that she's become the naggy wife and worrisome wife. And not the fun wife anymore like she once was, now that she's pregnant. Doug, Sean William Scott's great as Doug, as always. Kim Coates is back as the coach. He's great. He's funny. He has some great one-liners to the team. Most of the players that were on the team before are back. The one player who was older is now the assistant coach. Wyatt Russell's great. He's kind of a dick. But you can see him and his father don't have the best relationship. And that his father really messed him up growing up by not giving him the attention he probably sought as a kid. Is it as good as the first one? No. It's not as funny. I don't find it as funny as the first one. There's not as much hockey scenes in it. Most of the hockey scenes are like in the beginning, and there's some sporadically through the movie, but very short clips of hockey with following the Highlanders. But it's mostly focuses on Doug, which is the character we care about most. And at the end, there's some hockey. But it's mostly about Doug going through his day-to-day grind, missing his team, wanting to get back to it, having a baby, all that kind of thing. It's like Rocky 3 in a lot of ways. There's a lot of comparisons there. I still think it's a good movie. I really enjoy it for a sequel to a movie that who knew we were going to get a sequel to Goon, considering the release it got. But it got a sequel. I highly recommend it. I gave the first Goon 8.5 out of 10. I'd give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I really like it. It's a good follow-up. I think they're two really good movies. The first one I think is superior to the second one, but the second one there's a lot to like there, and there's some funny parts. I don't think it's as funny, but I think it's really good. And the heart's there. I'd highly recommend it. It's definitely worth checking out. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I know the first Goon's streaming on Netflix. I don't know if part 2 is, but if you get a chance, check it out. They're really fun movies. I recommend them both. And that's all I have to say about that. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button down below. If you've seen the movie, the first or the second one, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And have a great day. Until next time, see ya. Bye.